Okay, so welcome back to another video. Trying to work out what I said in the last video, and it turns out nothing. So this is
the big reveal.
This is the big reveal.
This is the big anticlimactic reveal
of what's happening next. And you're probably wondering, what is happening next? We made it to Ushuaia, Argentina, which ended the journey from Alaska down to Ushuaia. And, you know, we did say that we were driving around the world.
When we began this journey, it was back in lockdown.
Yeah.
And we heard about this couple doing a similar trip, and we were like, let's do that. Yeah, let's build a van, let's drive around the world. Initially, we tried to go east.
Yes.
And then we got stopped by the continuing lockdowns in 2021 of Middle Eastern countries. So we had to turn around. The whole plan was we'd come this way, and then we'd spend a year or so just making our way through Canada, America, all the way down to the bottom of South America, which in its own right is normally like an epic, once-in-a-lifetime trip that people do. So, and it turned out it was epic, and we're going to talk about that more shortly.
Yes.
But the plan was always, to carry on westwards.
And somehow drive around the world. Yeah.
Political events mean that is essentially impossible. Because
it's not technically possible.
We spoke, so there are routes that so our initial route took us either through, ideally, through a small part of Russia to get to Mongolia, and then back, and then maybe even back through Russia again to get around to Kazakhstan, and then back that way. That was the ideal route, but it's just simply not possible, obviously, given current events. The other alternative that people have done is driving through parts of China.
Yes. Again, it's actually, that is semi-possible, but it's not possible yet. So China still hasn't kind of fully undid all its lockdown restrictions and certain things of people coming into China. But obviously coming into China is in itself regulated. And in order to drive through China, when that is possible, which could take another year, could take another 2 years, don't know. It costs a lot of money. You have to have an official guide who drives with you through China, and it's really expensive, and it's really complicated, and you have to get approved, and
we can't do that anymore.
Yeah, it's not possible.
Regardless, it's not possible.
And we don't want to wait 2 years in order for that to happen. I think that's the point as well, is that you probably could do this trip, but it's gonna take years.
Yeah, so our initial route was more restricted because of those two only options. The rest of Asia doesn't let you drive through in foreign vehicles.
Yeah.
We looked to go into Australia. It is crazy amounts of money, like tens of thousands to get there. The process takes months upon months.
And they're really strict, again.
Yeah, and then you're in Australia, which I'm sure is a lovely country, but if you look at a map, it's basically the middle of nowhere. So even if we spend tens of thousands to get there,
spend a lot of money getting off there.
It makes no difference because there's nowhere to go after that makes sense. To drive around the world, we need to make it up to Asia. So we're sort of faced with a reality. It's like, okay, how long do we commit to this trip for? Are we like, okay, we're going to wait around and spend 3 years in South America potentially until these routes open up? Or do we move on with our lives?
Yeah. We decided to move on with our lives. But if you don't know, and you've only just started following us from this YouTube channel, you might think that this is like our first trip traveling when we started in Europe, when we started this adventure. That's not actually the case. We've been traveling pretty much full time for like 7 years.
Since 2016.
Yeah, so we have been doing this a long time. So kind of that idea of waiting around for 3 years, maybe 4 years until we can complete this kind of trip, just maybe if it was like the very first time we were traveling, it would maybe be more appealing, but we have been doing this a long time, and we've kind of like accepted that we don't want to wait that long to do that trip. So we're just not going to do it. We're going to move on to the next stage of our lives. 7 years is a long time to be traveling full time, to be away from certain events, to be away from family and friends, and to kind of to do this lifestyle. yeah, so we decided, you know what, this is a pretty epic trip heading from Alaska down to Ushuaia.
And all across Canada.
Oh yeah, I mean Canada was its own blooming epic road trip in itself, driving across Canada. But yeah, we made the decision that
we're both at a point where we're happy to move on to the next stage of our lives.
Yeah.
Which won't be as full on travelling. It won't be our lives in the last 7 years has been, right, where are we going to next? Where's next? Where's next?
We've never had a base. And that's been fine. We've both been happy with that. But I don't know, we're just kind of at a stage now where we don't want to not travel. That's not the case. It's just that we want to change the way we travel.
So it's not saying this is the end of our travels or our YouTube or anything like that. If anything, there's going to be a lot more YouTube videos coming out.
Yeah, because I can get more structured in my life. If you've seen anything, it's that I'm really struggling with all the traveling full time and trying to do YouTube and a blog and everything else.
It's getting to Ushuaia was quite a seminal moment, you know. It was the end of an era, kind of.
For us, yes.
In a big way, like not just the end of this trip, but also a big end of...
An end of a hell of an adventure for the last 7 years, but yeah, the end of the way we've been traveling. Brad's really self-reflecting right now.
We're literally about to leave the Tierra del Fuego National Park, so it's just north from here. The trip is over. And it's the end of an era, really. 7 years of full-time traveling. You know, still a lot to come, I know, but...
We've been doing this a long time, though.
Yeah.
A long time.
And this trip was such a big trip as well. You know?
It was a big trip.
It's always been the goal, was like getting here. Now you're here, it's like...
What to
it's
do?
been great, but it's like, what now?
Yeah, and we kind of are like ending on a real high as well in terms of our blog, the business.
Yeah,
we are at a position where it's doing really well and it's fantastic, and we've built that up over these years we've been traveling.
Yeah, I mean, we ain't getting any younger. You know.
I'm turning 30. I'll be 30 by the time this comes out.
You will be.
I will be.
God.
Brad's like a couple, like he's 29. He's not that much younger than me.
I know. Early next year I'll be 30 as well. But it will be over.
No, they say life starts at 30. But yeah, so we wanted to come out with that announcement then, but then we thought this would also be a good chance to kind of reflect on the last
12 months.
On the last 12 months, and kind of go through, well, Brad prepared some questions, which I think is a good way to structure this. So we can talk about some highs and lows, goods and
But first, maybe tell people where we are now.
Oh yeah, well, right now we last ended you in Ushuaia,
so the very bottom of Argentina.
And we have driven up through Argentina into Uruguay, to Montevideo, which is where we have to ship the van back to England. So we didn't do any fully intense vlogging, but we did vlog some bits and bobs, and at the end of this video I'll show you all the clips. There's actually some pretty cool penguins in there.
It was.
Yeah.
And the reason the van's looking, I guess you can't see too much of it, but she's pretty empty, so we've actually been in a hotel for a few days just basically clearing things out, because we have to put her on a Ro-Ro and ship her from here. She goes to Hamburg, and then Hamburg. Actually, funny enough, she goes to Tilbury, and you can see where the ships go to from my parents' flat in Gravesend, which is where we're going to be. So we should technically
see her come in from our window.
We may actually be in Greece at that time.
We may be.
So we already booked him for a travel conference we're speaking at in May. And it may be that the van arrives. I don't know, it'd be great to see it come down. We'll see. But either way, literally, and my brother runs the ferry that goes over the river. So literally you have to step out of our flat, walk 100 meters, get on a ferry,
pick her up,
drive over, and then get on the ferry, and then Helen will be right there. How random is that?
Okay, so now that we've told you the news, told you where we are, I think it's time Brad brings out his phone with his questions.
Yeah. So we landed. So the van landed in Canada, in Halifax, back in March 2022.
Yes.
A ferry. This is our boat right here. This is it. Helen. 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 So we picked up. We actually drove a few days up to the top of Nova Scotia. And then we had celebrated St. Patrick's Day there.
Yes.
And then on the day we arrived in Ushuaia, it was St. Patrick's Day.
Yes,
remember?
it was.
So the trip from Canada all the way across to Alaska, all the way down for the American continent took exactly 1 year. Another full circle thing. We actually, our first ever trip together was in South America. That's where our travels began in 2016.
Began.
With backpack in South America.
Right after uni.
And we did the opposite route.
Yeah.
How full circle is that?
It's so full circle.
Look at this. This is like...
We even went to places, like you're saying that we went back to Puerto Moreno Glacier.
Yeah.
And I'll put up the pics for the comparison. We tried to retake the same photos that we did in 2016. And you can tell me if you can see the difference in our age.
So this was just, first thing, we just want to go through some highlights of the trip. So we're talking here about from Halifax to Ushuaia, so last year.
Oh, so difficult.
Some highlights. I made 9.
You've made 9 highlights.
I just wrote. I was like, oh, that. Yeah.
See, I didn't pre-prepare for this video.
So you go. You tell me what. Maybe give me a couple of highlights, and then we'll compare with my list.
Okay. Well, my first thing I can pinpoint is the Rockies in Canada. Like, it was a dream to get there, and it was more beautiful in real life than it is in the pictures, so that's saying something. And it was just epic. Canada in general was a dream. I want to go back. I love the people, I love Tim Hortons, I love the landscapes, I love the diversity of it. That is in itself was a real highlight. But the Rockies was like, that was just an epic. We took some time off work as well, and we stayed in the campsites and had the fires, and it was cold, and it was just like everything that I thought that would be.
Yeah, that was my last one. I was like, oh yeah, that's National Park. Well, on the topic of Canada, actually the first one I put down was a Canada one, which was the Yukon in general. So, so the best part, I mean, Canada's amazing, but Banff National Park and the Yukon are like big wildernesses. I guess Banff is more touristy, whereas the Yukon is like just vast and just open, but less people there. But you just feel like you're so off the grid. You know, there's no cell signal.
There's no cell signal. Yeah,
it makes you feel like you're still like traveling somewhere rugged. Actually, I put Dawson City.
That was great.
We'll touch more on the next section. Is least favorite moments of the trip, but just for most famous moments of the trip was actually our night in Dawson City. So even though we had this really bad, we'll come to that soon, event happen, we had this crazy night out in Dawson City. So it was like the oldest registered casino in Canada or North America in general. It was just this little town, like, where people still carry knives around with them because they could go home to their shack that night and a bear would attack them. You know, like, we just met some crazy characters. It was 24 hours of daylight, so we didn't get until early hours. Walked back because there was no taxis to get back. It was just a crazy nighttime adventure. And go on, give us another one. What are you thinking?
I have to put something like quite touristy because we went to Niagara Falls for my birthday, and that was so much fun. And it, I mean, the whole time you never got to see the footage because we lost the memory card.
Well, I didn't lose it. I broke it.
We tried to save it, but anyway, yeah. Unfortunately, you don't get to see that, but that lives on in our memories.
We got some clips maybe of the helicopter.
Yeah, you've got the helicopter. We did that on Instagram, yeah. But because we went to the wine region, we stayed in the most amazing hotel that had the view of the falls 24/7.
Yeah.
The whole thing was just like an epic birthday.
Well, following from that one was another touristy one. It was on my bucket list that I really loved.
Las Vegas?
Yeah.
Las Vegas was amazing.
Las Vegas is more Vegas than you think Vegas would be.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's very different to the Yukon, you know.
Yeah, it's completely different. But it lives up to, because it is such hype over Vegas. I mean, you got the movies, there is hype on Vegas, but it is one of those rare places that exceeded the hype. Like, we want to go back ASAP. Like,
I loved it. There's just so much to see and do. The whole city is like almost like an attraction.
Yeah.
Just being in it is the attraction. Like
just being there.
Yeah, walking around. Right, so let's leave North America. Highlights from Mexico downwards.
Tequila. Da,
yeah.
da, da, da,
That was the
tequila.
best stop in Mexico.
Yeah, that was like just so much fun.
That was more Mexico than you think Mexico's going to be.
Yes. Even if you don't like tequila, it was such a fun vibe. It's such a cool place.
Just Mexicans drinking tequila in the streets.
Like
and dancing.
literally a party in the street.
Yeah.
In the day. It's
the whole town is a party. It's great.
so good.
It's just so much fun. Can we include like the Galapagos?
oh my god, yeah.
guess
I
we
mean,
can.
technically, it wasn't in the road. Yeah, of course we can.
It wasn't on the road trip. It was like, well, I guess if you're going to come to South America, you know,
You have to fly.
Yeah, you got to get to Galapagos. That was amazing.
Galapagos.
Yeah, Galapagos was. It's going to get its own videos.
Yes. Yeah. You'll
We'll
have
have
seen
more
them.
videos because there's so much footage of animals and.
The Galapagos. I mean, we even forked out in a new lens for it, and it was worth every penny to be. But I'm a bird watcher now. Like, as in I want to be.
You'd be looking at the pigeons.
No. But as in like, but whenever if someone said to me, "Oh yeah, you go like bird watching in the Galapagos," I'd be like, bird watching. Oh my god! Like the animals there are just on a whole other level. It's amazing, and the photos and the videos scream for themselves. But yeah, we did a luxury cruise, and it was one of the most amazing trips ever, like bucket list trips ever. We had no Wi-Fi. We met the most amazing people. I don't know if we got super lucky with our group, but we had a fantastic time. There was not, it was perfection, that entire thing, start to finish.
So, I mean, personally, I think reaching Ushuaia was actually like a big moment. That was quite a good moment. Just getting there. Like, I know it was the end anyway, but it was quite a sense.
It was fun, like being the fact that this van made it there.
Yeah, like there was a very definite sense of, oh my god, like we actually made it.
Yeah.
Like,
overall, I mean, it's been
an epic trip.
It's been an epic trip. There's something to see in every corner of the world that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, what I will say is we had no negative experiences with anyone on this trip. Like, we had no issues with bribes or corrupt police officers, and I know that that's a real concern, but...
We had that one guy who wanted just checking if we had just a little bit of drugs.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like he kind of wanted
He
to...
probably did, but he couldn't find anything.
And then he kept our pen because he had a little power trip.
Yeah. But other than him, but he didn't ask for money. He just had a
You hear
thorough
people
search.
talk about, you know, they do this trip, or they get bribed whenever they go anywhere, or don't go to Mexico. We had so many people telling us, don't go to Mexico, like, it's dangerous, you know, be careful.
I'm going to tell you that the United States feels more dangerous than Mexico.
We felt more unease through all of America than we did anywhere else on this trip.
Anywhere else on this trip. And that says something.
Yeah.
There you go. That's it. Point blank. That's it.
We've never had any problems, okay? You got to be sensible, of course. There's always got to be sensible whatever you do, but just to be clear, we've had no bad experiences.
No bad experiences.
On this entire trip.
People are generally, you know, humans are good people. You get bad nuts everywhere, but just, yeah.
Alright, let's move on. Least favourite moment of the trip.
Oh, least favourite moment.
I'm going to take mine.
Okay.
It was getting towed back. I figured that'd probably be there.
Guys, it made a great video.
Yeah.
We all liked it.
Yeah. Actually led to our best night out, one of my favourite nights
did.
out, which is in Dawson. But at the time, I mean, if you've seen the video, it was just very like, what I put. It felt like our first ever true failure.
Oh.
It felt like we failed. You know what I mean? This was the first time, because our plan was to get to the Arctic Circle, and we didn't. And I, as soon as the guy picked us up, put us on his toe, we got in the back and we drove down, I knew we failed. There's worse roads than the Dempster that we did.
Yeah.
And if you watch the most recent vlogs, you'll see that they almost brought the trip to a sudden end. But I knew, come back to it, I knew that when we was in that tow truck driving back down to Dawson City, like, and then took a couple of days and they told us she's fine. And we had a decision to make. We was like, right, we're this close to the Arctic Circle, you know, it's a 10-hour drive along this gravel track, and we were like, we don't want to ruin her, we want to make it to Ushuaia. But I also knew that when I got to Ushuaia, having not done that 10 hours, you know, I knew I would regret it. I knew it. I was like, and I did, and I do regret it. And I knew I would, and I do. Okay. Because, you know, we did hundreds of hours of driving, hundreds upon hundreds of hours.
Yeah,
just 10 hours more to get to the Arctic Circle.
Knowing what I know now on the roads that we've done and what almost killed Helen recently, 100% would do it now. But it's because we didn't know. We didn't know, and it was, is it worth the risk? Is it worth the risk? And maybe it should have been worth the risk, but
I have to live knowing that I've sat behind the wheel of this van and driven it all the way from the top of America to the bottom, but I could have gone that a little bit more.
Oh my god, my least favourite moment.
Or a moment that was maybe didn't live up, or was sad, or...
Oh, it's really difficult. I mean, I remember us, like, someone trying to take the camera and to break into the van, and I remember that was the first time I felt like scared of being in the van. It was my own fault. I left the camera in the front seat. Obviously the door was locked, but that was like, ugh. Because we were in the middle of nowhere, I was like, oh, that made me nervous, because then I started thinking, right, what do we do if someone ever tries to get in this van? Like, what is our plan of action, blah, blah. And that kind of made me paranoid a bit. But I mean, I got over it. But at the time, it was kind of like, ooh. But I don't know, we've had some frustrating moments with the van when stuff, it always seems to be that when something goes wrong, like 10 things go wrong, and it can kind of get a little bit, frustrating.
Been truly
Think of anything major.
We'll move on from that one then. Biggest surprise of the trip?
Biggest surprise?
Biggest surprise, yeah. Biggest shocker. Biggest surprise.
Biggest surprise not getting bribed, because everyone told me it was going to happen.
I was surprised by just how grand the Grand Canyon was.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah.
I'm being serious. Bryce Canyon, the Utah, the Big Five, they were all out of this world. Particularly Bryce Canyon. But the Grand Canyon
it's massive.
It is so grand. It's
so big.
It's so aptly named. It's like Vegas. It just lived up.
It's hard to contemplate until like, this is the thing. Like, I'm taking pictures of it and videos, but none of them actually showcase just how grand it is. I don't think that you will ever appreciate that site unless you see it in person.
Let's move on to Helen. Let's talk about Helen. The third member of this trio, because she's very much become a part of us, or part of the trip. Maybe not a part of us, part of the trip. It wasn't, without her, wouldn't be here.
She's a good little Peugeot.
Yeah. And here's the thing. So we want to talk about how she held up. I actually think she did incredibly well. I thought that we'd have a big issue to deal with at some point. We had to fix the main cooling fan.
Yeah.
And that was largely because of all the gravel and the dirt and the cold and the hot from the Alaska Highway just clogged it up. And also it was maybe just reached the end of its age. That part needed replacing. Other than that, the main things that went wrong with the van, so there were videos where, like the Dempster, we broke down the Dempster, this. It was all to do with filters. It was simply the case that our fuel, and in America we had power problems a lot, and that was really worrying at the time. We thought, like, this is it, the engine is like on its way out, but it was simply a case that the filter was completely clogged.
Yeah.
And we couldn't find the right ones there, and it sounds stupid now, but like, I didn't have filters with us, and I didn't understand the importance of changing a filter. I didn't realise it was such a big deal, and it could have such an impact.
But it does, which is something good to know.
Helen herself, like structurally, was absolutely spot on.
She has been good. But another thing to note is that we have more problems with getting her kind of fixed and sorted in North America, but from Mexico onwards, they have this van. That it exists here, and especially in South America, they're bloody everywhere. She was unique up north, but in South America she's not. So in terms of getting parts, it'd be far easier once you hit Mexico onward.
Yes, if you have a two-wheel van from Europe that's 2.2 litres and fancy doing a road trip of South America, go for it. We did it.
Yes, you'll be able to do it fine.
There you are. She's held up structurally fine. The other thing is, how well did she hold up on the inside?
Yes.
In terms of our conversion.
And I think we've done a pretty good job, because nothing has come loose. Everything works well. Yeah, I think we built a pretty good van. The only thing that doesn't work is the fridge, and that wasn't us. It's because it's a really old fridge. Yeah, we built a good van, and we're keeping her. We are not going to sell her. She is going to keep doing trips. We've got a trip planned to Scotland. We want to take her to Europe eventually. When we get her back, she's going straight to an MOT centre.
She's going to get a nice service. her equivalent of a spa weekend.
Yeah. And then, yeah, so that'll get her fixed, you know, mechanically, make sure all's good. And then we'll give her a little, you know, freshen up.
Give her a little break as
Yeah,
well.
she's going to get a little rest. She's
She's been through a lot.
she's
Yeah.
pretty good. She dreamed big
The-
and travelled far.
Yeah.
Really wanted to say that.
Yeah.
She did! Yeah, so I guess we've covered what we're not doing, what we are doing, what the next stage is, highs and lows, and
Yeah. So in the near horizon, we're going to finish recording this. We're going to finish getting her packed up
Yes.
because she's off tomorrow morning.
But yeah, so obviously, yes, I don't want you to, you know, stop watching this and then click that unsubscribe button, because we are going to still be doing stuff. So yeah, I mean, we have been traveling for 7 years before this YouTube channel started, and yeah, we're just changing the way we travel. We still plan on traveling. You will still be able to adventure with us, and you will still see all our stuff on our blog and our Instagram.
Yeah,
So,
but thank you
check 'em
for and thanks for watching all these videos, especially those of you that have been here.
Yeah, there are a bunch of you who've been watching it from the start. Yeah, it takes a lot of time to do these videos, but I know it's worth it, especially because we'll be able to look back on them. But yeah, thank you. It makes all those hours editing worth it.
Spends a lot of time editing.
I do. So stay subscribed and stay tuned for the collection of Helen.
Yeah.
Punta Tombo, which is a place where you can see I can't pronounce it.
Magellan
penguins.
And we both had tickets and we was going on this walk down to the rookery, but they're already here.
Look, there's one in the distance there. I'm gonna have to get my other.
They're so funny when you see them walking. Because he just started calling out, and another one just walked out of the bushes over here.
Oh, there they are. There's one inside. Oh my god. Hi, penguin. You're absolutely adorable. Mine says give way to the penguins.
And there's a penguin just behind it.
Yes, there is. They have right of way in these roads. Everyone. Hey, everyone. Oh, everyone's shedding. Look at this one. Come along. Coming to join the gang? Welcome.
He's doing it. He's in.
The waddles. Waddle for me. Waddle. Look at that go. It's so good. You're literally blocking the path. It's crossing. What are you doing? Where are you waddling to?
They're right away.
And give him way.
I can just see penguins all across the distance. As far as I can see is just rolling hills of penguins.
Rolling hills of penguins.
Literally.